For a lot of years, sports have in many countries functioned as a focus on the population of Portugal. Furthermore, the sports have created a solidarity and a patriotism among the Portuguese people. It is seen that the world of sports or sports events is a point of interest to a country's regime, because they take an interest in self-promotion. Most often, a lot of money is spent by the state on the big sports events. Therefore, sports play a huge role in the political world. This can be seen politically both foreign, financial and health-wise. For example, there is no doubt that it is healthy to do physical activities. In that way, sports contribute politically in the fight against obesity. Apart from that, in the majority of countries, it is the government who controls the financial work when it comes to stadiums, sports centers and sport events such as European Masters, World Masters and the Olympics.
Antonio de Oliveira Salazar was the Prime Minister of Portugal in the period from 1932 to 1968. Portugal was at this time a dictatorship and Salazar was the dictator. At Salazar's time, the government discovered that the Portuguese population shared a lot of love for football, and for this reason they discovered that the football influenced the country's international achievement. Therefore, the government in Portugal used this in their own self-promotion. This was seen when a Portuguese football team sensationally won the European Cup final against Barcelona. This match was shown on the TV at least once a day in the following week. In the Portuguese dictatorship, the government's opponents began to speak about the three columns as, according to the opponents, was this the ideal way to live in Portugal. The three columns was mentioned as the three Fs. That means, respectively, football, Fado and Fatima. The last F, that is Fatima, is a holy city that was visited by the Virgin Mary in 1970.
Nowadays, football is still a popular sport among the Portuguese population. The sport is the center of attention and it is highly valued in the Portuguese culture. Both Salazar's regime but also more recent governments have supported the enthusiasm surrounding the sport. A lot of money from the government has been invested in football, which might have led to the fact that football still is one of the most popular sports in the country. As an example, we can look back to only 2004. Portugal was hosting European Masters, and because of that, the football community was gifted with more brand new and big stadiums. This was in spite of the fact that Portugal already had some of the biggest and newest stadiums. In that way, politics influencing sports can be seen more recently in Portugal also.
If you turn back time to the Olympics in 1936, there is also an example of the influence. The Olympics was hosted by Germany, who was controlled by the Nazis. In this time, the sport was also influenced by Hitler, the dictator at the time. At the Olympics, Germany displayed itself as a country with a free mind and an overload of happiness, whereas the through was far from the same because of, for example, persecution of the Jews.
The Nazi Olympics was one of the biggest media events, and therefore a lot of self-presentation was used. As an example, all of the signs saying "Jews forbidden" were taken down. Other than that, it was forbidden to air dry your clothes on balconies and roofs while the Olympics were in action. This would disturb the image of the glorious host country. Therefore, one could say that the dictatorship was on standby.
Therefore, the political influence on sports appears more than once all over the world. Sports are used as self-promotion. It is most often used to put a land or its leadership in a better light when looked at by the population, but also looking from the outside. In that way, it can be seen that the method of influencing sports has been used for a long time, and it is still seen today.